The company protected the liar, while I was blamed and fired without a proper explanation, even though the truth was all in a video they didn't bother to watch. Boss told a co-worker that she could accuse me of anything and they'd have to believe her. So she accused me of SA and I got fired, lost a new job offer and almost gave up. Until I held a management position at a company. I asked a non-management employee of the opposite sex to step into another room to discuss her performance away from other employees. She was going through a divorce and had made a few mistakes, and while I didn't want to embarrass her, I did want to make sure the mistakes were addressed. She acknowledged it and thanked me. An hour later, I was escorted from my office by security and was informed by my boss that a sexual harassment complaint had been made and proper protocol was to suspend me. I asked what it was and was told, "We need to investigate." I can't disclose that. He assured me that it shouldn't take long and if I wasn't guilty of anything, I'd be paid for the time out. I again asked what the accusation was and was told that as there was an ongoing investigation, I was not permitted to know, but if they had questions, I would be contacted. I wasn't happy, but knowing that I didn't do anything wrong, I left the building. Later that night, I received a notification on my phone that my email password was incorrect. After 2 days, I called my boss asking for an update and was told he was not available, but I would hear something soon. I began calling daily and received the same response. Finally, I received a letter in the mail informing me that I was terminated for exposing myself and requesting sexual favors from an employee. The employee listed was the young lady I had pulled into the side room. I immediately called up my boss and was told he is unavailable and said to say the matter is closed. My buddy, the IT guy, messaged me on Facebook asking what happened as he'd been told to deactivate my accounts. When I told him the whole story, he replied, "You took her into the X room. Duda, there's a security camera in there. We keep Y in there, so we always have the camera on." Sure enough, he pulls the footage and there I am, holding a pile of papers, pointing to them, and keeping my pants on the whole time. I left a message for my boss that the alleged incident occurred in a room with surveillance, and that I would be contacting an attorney and subpoenaing the video record. I received a call back 15 minutes later asking me to please participate in a phone conference with him in HR. The conference went as expected. They didn't realize it had occurred in a room with surveillance. They have a zero-tolerance policy that they have to enforce. You can't be too careful in this day and age. They regret that this didn't come to light sooner. They've already replaced me, and as it wouldn't be fair to terminate my replacement as she's done nothing wrong, they don't have a job to offer me back. However, as a gesture of goodwill, they're going to pay me through my suspension, change my file so it reads that I voluntarily resigned, and provide me a good reference. I replied that wasn't acceptable. They made a false accusation against me, withheld vital information that I could have easily refuted, refused to take my calls, and completely failed in their own investigation by not checking video footage that would have immediately exonerated me. They asked what I thought would be fair. I told them they could immediately terminate the employee who made the accusation and either give me my job back or pay me out 1 year's salary in addition to what was offered. My boss said that he could not discuss another employee with me, and that neither of those options are feasible. The only options I have are what he already offered. I replied that the options I gave are the only way I'm not going to sue the company along with the employee. My boss replied that I signed an agreement when I was first hired saying I would take all disputes through arbitration and that I waived my right to sue the company. I do not remember signing the agreement, and I have not seen it, but it apparently says that I will take all disputes to arbitration, I will bear the costs of arbitration, and that I will accept the decision in arbitration. He stated that I will not fare any better in arbitration than he's already offered and I'll be out the money to cover the arbitration. I feel like I'm being bullied here, and don't think he would have scheduled a phone conference with such immediacy if he didn't think the company was vulnerable to a lawsuit. I'm waiting on a callback from a few employment attorneys. Do I have a case? Am I wrong to feel that this is unacceptable? Update 1. Quite a bit has happened in the last few weeks. A friend of mine at another company, after hearing what happened, told me his company had an opening. I applied, interviewed, and at the end the manager asked me what I'd like to be called. 2 days later I got a call saying they'd gone with another candidate. My friend admitted to me that he'd gotten some flack for recommending me. Apparently HR had worked with one of the employees at my former company and called the employee to ask what the deal was with me, to which the employee responded, he got fired for sexually assaulting a subordinate. I think he's actually being charged criminally. I'm literally crying as I type this. It's a nightmare that won't end. Long story short, I lost my shit. Called up my old company, boss wouldn't get on the phone with me, had an attorney draft a letter of demand and send it off, had another phone conference scheduled. They once again regret that an employee provided a reference outside of the prescribed channels. The employee was coached on the proper way to handle such requests. My attorney informed them that in addition to wrongful termination, we would be adding defamation to our complaint against them. They insist that they have not broken any laws, and they cannot control the actions of an individual employee who went against company policy. So we're at an impasse there. Either I move ahead against them, or I walk away. At this point, I'm ready to drag this through court. I tried to take the high road and go elsewhere, but they're regretting a lot that they've done to me without any action to correct it. Oh, I almost forgot. A few days after my last post, they sent me a packet of papers, standard non-disclosure notifications, COBRA, and a blank copy of the arbitration agreement for me to sign. Why a blank one, you ask? Well, it seems somebody fucked up. They weren't making people sign when I was hired, and HR never bothered to have me sign the agreement when I worked there. I, of course, have signed nothing that they sent me, including that agreement. I considered allowing arbitration if they pay the costs and I have approval over who is selected, but my attorney has advised not to do that. I wish I had better news to report. Things aren't as hopeless as they'd seemed, but not as easily fixable either. As for the employee who made the accusation, I know you're eager to hear, but at this point I can't comment on what's happening there. Thanks for all of the advice and support so far. I promise to update when everything resolves, if not sooner, as much as I can. Update 2. Everything is resolved, and I've been wanting to give you guys an update, but had to wait until my lawyer gave me the okay to talk about things. So let's start from the beginning. I pulled one of my direct reports, Deborah, into another room to discuss a few mistakes she made, but did not discipline her further. After this, she went to Joyce, one of the managers above me but not in my direct line of report, equal to my boss in terms of reporting structure. When Joyce heard that I had taken Deborah into another room without any witnesses, she said to her that it was unprofessional. Apparently her exact words were, you could accuse him of being inappropriate with you, and I would have no choice but to believe you. This was repeated several times, with a strong emphasis on no choice. Joyce then asked Deborah if I had been inappropriate with her, saying, "It will only happen again if you don't speak up now. If you do now, we can take action." Taking the not at all subtle hint from Joyce, Deborah accused me of exposing myself to her, and I was placed on leave pending an investigation. Joyce immediately sent out an email that nobody besides the secretary was to speak with me without an attorney present, and told the IT guy, Paul, to deactivate my access. James, my boss, had a resume from Terry, an employee in Joyce's department, applying for my job before close of business that day, and she was hired. Paul and I talked. He provided me with video proving my innocence. The company continued to stonewall me and refused to talk to me. When they did, they attempted to push me into arbitration and to retroactively sign an arbitration agreement. I cut my losses, took another job, and was ready to move on. Sandy, an employee in Joyce's department, broke protocol, talked to HR at the new company, told them I had sexually assaulted a subordinate, and cost me the job. So that brings us up to date. My attorney and I launched a civil suit against the company and Deborah. Bet you're wondering how I know the above. Well, good old Joyce said she'd protect Deborah if she came forward. Unfortunately, that only extended to her job. So when she was named individually in this suit, corporate told her they would not be providing her an attorney. After realizing that she'd be putting her house up for collateral, she was all too willing to throw Joyce under the bus. Joyce went to Paul, the IT guy, who was one of her reports, and gave him a list of footage to be procedurally wiped as part of an archive Claro. He pointed out that the incident with me was on that list and part of an ongoing investigation. Joyce told him that it was no longer needed and to go ahead and wipe it. He refused, citing the fact that it would still be requested in the event that the suit moved forward. She told him to pack his things as he was being terminated for insubordination. He called the company attorney and informed her what had happened. The aftermath. Several things happen at once, so I'll try to keep them as chronological as I can. Deborah's attorney contacted mine stating that, conditional on me dropping the suit, she would admit that she lied and explain what went on behind the scenes. Dana, the company attorney, got the call from my attorney with the details from Deborah shortly after she finished talking with Paul about him being terminated for refusing to destroy evidence. Deborah and Joyce were terminated for cause that day. Paul was told that his job was safe. My attorney received a call, and it was made clear that the company didn't want this to go any further and wanted to talk settlement. I won't go into all of the details, but what I can say, I was offered my job back with a very fair increase. I received back pay from the date of suspension, and a public apology was offered from the very top. Terry is now working in Joyce's old position. She's incredibly cool about things, and felt horrified when she found out what happened. James and I are good now, and he has personally apologized for not sticking up for me. This will likely be my final update. There is still some legal battle ongoing, but I can't go into that too much. Thank you for all of your support and encouragement. You guys rock. Now on to the next story. Story 2. Noticed my girlfriend was getting closer to a neighbor I know who's interested in her. But it turns out they already kissed, and now I'm moving out while she stays with him. My girlfriend and I have been together for 5 years. We're both in our mid-20s, met in college, and have been living together for around 3 years. A little over 6 months ago, we had to find a place to live rather quickly. Thankfully, we found a great place in the city. A little on the expensive side, but we make it work. A week into living here, my girlfriend met one of our neighbors, Jenna, who lives almost directly across the hall. Jenna lives there with her boyfriend and they're roughly our age, maybe a couple of years older. By the end of December, my girlfriend and Jenna became pretty well acquainted. I don't know if I'd say friends because they never hung out outside of them inviting us to dinner and vice versa, but I do think my girlfriend and Jenna texted every now and then. Jenna is a nice enough, but her boyfriend Sam is a fucking asshole. He's arrogant and entitled and I do not like him. My girlfriend didn't like him either in the beginning, her words, but eventually seemed to warm up to him. Eventually we learned that the two of them are in an open relationship. I've never really understood the whole open relationship thing, but it's really not my business, so ultimately I don't care. What does bother me is I've caught Sam straight up checking out my girlfriend. I've noticed Jenna noticing it too and being uncomfortable with it. I didn't, my girlfriend has noticed it first. About 2 months ago when my girlfriend and I were coming home from dinner with a friend, we heard the two of them screaming at one another from inside their apartment. My girlfriend wanted to knock and see if things were okay. I wanted to leave it alone, so we knocked. Sam answered and says it wasn't the best time and Jenna pushed past him and left with a suitcase. He called after her, but she told him to go fuck himself, and that was it. 2 weeks later, we didn't hear a thing from either of them. My girlfriend texted Jenna asking if she was okay and got no response. This next bit I only know because my girlfriend told me. She caught Sam as he was leaving and she was coming home from work and she asked him if things were okay. He confirmed they broke up and that Jenna has moved out completely. The next day, while I was at work, my girlfriend went to his place to see how he was doing and he explained to her what happened. It's not really relevant, but because I know some people may be curious. Apparently he cheated and Jenna broke up with him. I feel like there's more to the story, but I don't know if that's all Sam told my girlfriend, or if that's all she told me. Ever since, my girlfriend and Sam have been texting pretty much every day, if not every other day. I told her I'm a little uncomfortable with how close they've gotten. She said she feels bad because he doesn't really have anyone now. I told her it's his fault for being a cheater and it bothered me she has sympathy for him. She agreed to dial it back but said she won't ignore him completely. Then I asked 2 really stupid questions. The first was if she was attracted to Sam. I expected her to say no honestly because she's always told me that I'm exactly her type, looks and personality, and him and I are completely different. She said that's not a fair question. When I asked why, she said she should be allowed to find other men attractive without it being an issue, and said surely I'm attracted to other women. I agreed, but I said it's different when it's a guy who's been fucking her at every opportunity. I took her silence after that as a yes. I also took it to mean she actually did notice him checking her out. The second stupid question was if she has the opportunity to sleep with him, guilt-free. Would she? She again said I'm being unfair because if she says yes then I'll be pissed even though she'd have permission to do it. My response was so that's a yes. We were quiet for a while after that until someone texted her. She looked at the message and then looked away and I asked who it was. She didn't answer me and I got visibly upset. I started walking to our bedroom and grabbed a bag to pack some clothing. She followed me and said they're just friends. I asked if she would be willing to show me her phone. She hesitated but said yes, but the hesitation was enough for me. I grabbed my bag and my laptop and told her I just need to get away from here for a while and clear my head. She asked what that meant, and I said I have to think about some things and left. So here I am, sitting in a hotel room, wondering what the fuck is happening in my relationship, and wondering if I screwed things up, if she did or if we both did. Update 1. June 23rd. 2024. Well, first of all, I want to say that I didn't expect this to blow up as much as it did, and I want to thank everyone for the encouraging comments and for reaching out personally, even if I didn't respond. Lots of people said that I made a lot of mistakes, not checking her phone, not confronting him, leaving after our fight. Hindsight, I guess, but I just didn't want to be there anymore in that moment. I was able to reach out to Jenna. She confirmed her and Sam had an open relationship, but it was one-sided, which she said worked for the longest time. Until it didn't. She said she told Sam after the first time we were invited for dinner my girlfriend was off limits. Then she confirmed she came home and caught them kissing. She also said it's not the first time he's broken the rules. She apologized for not telling me sooner but said she just wants to put him behind her. She also asked me not to contact her again. I called my sister afterwards. She's the one who helped me find Jenna's socials, and we talked about me coming home for a while to clear my head. I said that entirely depends on what I find when I get home. I might have been able to forgive a kiss. When I got home last night, our apartment was empty. It surprised me how not surprised I was that she wasn't there. I put my things down, took a deep breath, and went to his apartment. When he answered, I pushed on the door to open it wider and my attention went immediately to her. I asked her if we could talk alone, when she didn't move and looked towards him. I said fuck it, and pushed past him into his apartment. He sarcastically told me to come in and close the door. I told them I know about the kiss. She looked surprised. He didn't. He said you talked to Jenna then? And I said yeah. She told me everything. He said he doubts that. I said I know he's cheated on Jenna before, and he admitted that he's broken the rules of their relationship before, but said Jenna isn't a saint either. He said their relationship was incredibly toxic on both sides, and I said she seemed like a good person to me. He said I don't know her. They were together for 7 years and he knows her better than anyone. I said I didn't believe him. My girlfriend told me that Jenna sent her really nasty messages when she texted her asking if she was okay and tried to apologize. I shrugged and said, so? She had every right to be angry. Sam immediately jumped to her defense and said, at me, Paige didn't know the rules of our relationship, so for all she knew that Kiss was within them. It was quiet for about a minute, and then I asked my girlfriend how long it took after I left for her to come knocking on his door. She told me I left her in relationship limbo and didn't know if I was even coming back, which didn't answer my question, but I dropped it because I was never going to get an honest answer. I didn't need to ask if they slept together because she was in her underwear and a t-shirt, and he was only wearing sweatpants. I went to leave and told her I'm moving back home and I'll be emailing our landlord and telling him I want out of the lease and that she'll be taking it over completely. She said she can't afford that. I told her I don't care. Then I left. I called my sister and she's making arrangements to come get me, but she's 9 hours away and won't be able to make it until tomorrow or Tuesday. It gives me time to pack my shit at least. I'm not exactly loving that I'll be staying here for a day or two. Unfortunately, I can't turn off my feelings for her, and knowing she's across the hall getting fucked by another man isn't awesome. But I can't afford the hotel again. I don't really know how I'm feeling right now. I went from anger to sadness to anger again, and now I just feel numb. So that's it. Again, wondering how we got here. Our relationship wasn't perfect and we had our issues, but I never thought we'd end up here.